Today I'm joined by Jamie Broughton. Jamie is the owner and managing director of Prestige Graphics, the UK's leading vinyl installation organisation operating globally in the automotive, commercial and residential sectors. So welcome, Jamie.
Hello, Simon. Thank you for having me on.
No, you're welcome. Thank you for joining us. So, uh, Jamie, tell us a bit more about Prestige Graphics.
So, Prestige Graphics has been going. I started it 15 years ago, and we are a signage and graphics company. So we basically work in all types of vinyl aspects, vinyl elements. So we do a lot of automotive work with vehicles, like vehicle wrapping, van branding for companies, and then we also apply vinyl onto signs and then install signs, shop signs, window graphics, internal office fit outs, wall wraps, basically big boy stickers, in layman's terms. And we do a lot of paint protection film as well, which is a clear self-healing stone chip film. So we work on a lot of supercars with that sort of product as well.
Okay, so that's like a clear wrap, is it, that goes over the
Yeah, it's completely different to vinyl, completely different makeup, but you can't scratch it. Any scratches just self-heal. They go back to like a glass finish, and it's a stone chip resistant film. So if you've got a vehicle that's at the front end, you can apply it to, and it will stop stone chips. And it's optically clear. So if you only applied it to say the front end but not the door,
Yeah.
then you wouldn't notice the difference between them. Other than over time, one's going to pick up a lot of scratches, the other's going to look immaculate still.
So I haven't heard of that before. Okay. Well, thank you for telling us a bit about your business. Um, so Jamie, tell us why you decided to start your own business. Is it, did you always want to be a business owner? Why did you want to start your own business?
I didn't.
Okay.
I worked for a company for 2 years, and I was an apprentice learning.
Yeah.
And then that was when I was 17. And when I was 19, the company went under. I lost my job.
Oh, right. Okay.
And my dad said to me, "Go on your own." And I said, "I don't know what I'm doing. Not a clue." And he went, "Wing it." And in all honesty, I did. I winged it. I'm an honest person. I'm very forward and I'm very honest. So if I make a mistake, I'll be honest and open about it. Doesn't matter if that mistake cost me 10 quid or 4,000, 5,000 pounds. It doesn't matter. Just be honest. And, that in turn, I look back now and realize that snowballs into, if you can be honest and open and create a trust with people, that pays dividends in the long run, right? So that's how the business was started. My hand was forced because I lost my job, and my dad said, roof over your head, food in your belly. What have you got to lose? Give it a go. So yeah, gives me
And
shivers saying that.
look, it can often be the case that and that's why I like to ask that question, because some people that they always wanted to be a business owner. That's what I want to do. Others, it's through circumstances. It just happens, like yourself there. And any particular reason why the graphics sort of industrial sector, is that what you were in previously?
Yeah, so when my hand was forced, I was an apprentice learning this trade.
Okay.
So I got into the industry at 17, learned it from all aspects of the job. Then I realized the areas I do like, and I sort of really honed in on those areas. And at 19, I went out on my own and started basically contract fitting, so just installing for other companies.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's where the business was formed.
So if we go back a bit, so okay, so you're an employee, then you became what, like a solopreneur. Okay. What was the sort of stage that you sort of thought, right, actually, now I'm going to employ somebody. I'm actually going to
Mm.
start to grow this business.
So after contracting myself out to a lot of different companies, they would all talk, and word got around that I was very reliable, good at what I was doing, very honest, and the main thing is turning up on time and getting the job done well. And then getting busier and busier. Obviously, you need more people, so I'd contract in other contractors, charge them out X, pay them Y, and I was making a margin on them. That happened quite frequently, and then that built up that I had guys with me all the time. And one of the guys was helping me out of hours and at weekends because he had a full-time job, and he loved my attention to detail, my quality. Whereas the company he was at was just get it on, get it on, get it on. It's a sticker. Don't worry about it. It's a sticker. Look, stand back and look at it. That's how it is. Whereas we're a lot more the real finesse. We want people to really get their eyes around it, really look at it, really look at the quality and attention to detail. And if they don't, it's kind of a bit like, come on, look at it. I've spent loads of effort on that. So he loved what we were doing, and he said, "Look, take me on." And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Just do it. Like, it'll be fine. Just take me on." So again, forced my hand, and I thought, "Well, I've had all these subcontractors flat out. Let's take this guy on." And it was a breath of fresh air for him because he loved the different types of work, actually caring for his work. He'd worked for the same company for 10 years, and he just wasn't getting any joy out of it. So it was a new fresh lease of life for him, and it was a kick in the ass for me, and it fueled my fire. Um, so yeah, he was my first employee, and then he knew someone that was 16. He was like, "Let's take him on as an apprentice." I was like, "All right, let's do it." We take him on as an apprentice. We took him on, trained him up, and before you know it, that then snowballs that he's a fully fledged fitter, and we just grew that team from there onwards. Um, and then one thing I always noticed doing this contract works is the biggest companies in the UK fight for the big work. And what always amazed me is they can never man it.
Okay.
So I was always based that if we can grow a big team of our own fitters that are employed,
Yeah.
we often have more fitters than the biggest companies around. Like even if they turn over 6-7 million quid, employed fitters they might only have 4 or 5. They sub it all out to tons of fitters.
Ah,
So I'm
okay.
trying to grow basically our own network, well, our own network of subcontractors as well, but our own niche team that have really got that eye for detail.
Yeah.
So after growing that, my ideas were always when we want to grow our own, start getting all our own work in, we'll have our own team and we'll
Yeah.
have a bigger team than other people, and they're trained to the right standard. So that's kind of where it went from trade work with our own little odds and sods that over the years it transitioned the other way to now we do a ton of our own work and I can man it. Now obviously the staff have come and gone and we've trained new staff. But that basically was the mentality: is grow a big army of fitters that are good at what they do. Even if they go and do their own adventures, they're still there. They're still trained my way. Even if they are self-employed, we can still pull their resources. I can still utilize them. Obviously, we like to keep it all in house, but I know that if I do use that contract, I train the guy. I know exactly what he's like. So yeah,
Right as
that's
well, isn't
that's
it? Being part of somebody else's journey.
mm,
Helping them get that step on the ladder or whatever it may be. And
mm,
I don't know about you, but I get great satisfaction from that. Even as you say, if they for whatever reason they don't stay with the company, but just to look at it and go, look, I played a part in their journey and where they're moving to. So that's a nice feeling, isn't it?
yeah. And I always notice there is a full circle. You know, they go explore, and then it's kind of like, if you got any jobs going, there, I'd say a good 80% wants to return at some point, or ask if there's any jobs available to come back. Well, I'm quite big on ethos, and I try and create a really nice working environment. And it's one thing I noticed that when we were working at all these different companies all around the country, it's literally just get the job done, and it's like you lose that sense of pride, and that's one thing that I like to take home each day. Is you feel, yeah, I've done a really good job today.
Yeah, and I've been writing down, sort of key words that you've mentioned when you've been talking, the ones that really resonate with me, Jamie. And, you've mentioned now, a number of times of just being honest and open and
Mm.
trustworthy.
Mhm.
I think that's really important from a business perspective. For me, that's one of the key things. You mentioned about like just the simple things like turning up on time. That sometimes get forgotten. Those key things that make a big difference, and the quality of the job. You mentioned there about the employees enjoying what they do. Generally, if we enjoy what we do a great job.
Mm.
So making that great, enjoyable environment. And then you mentioned about training as well. You know, so many. I looked at a recent survey, and it said that in the UK, on average, employees get 26 hours of training per year. That's
Mm.
only half an hour a week of training. It's nothing, and we expect our employees to do great jobs and progress and learn new things. But on average, they're only getting half an hour of training per week. So I
Very
think,
interesting.
yeah, training, I think, absolutely is key. And then the last thing you mentioned there was pride, having a
Mm.
pride in, having pride in what you do. So, some great, great words that I just wanted to highlight there that you've mentioned. So look, let's look at the other side of things for a second. What's been the biggest challenge that you've faced in being a business owner and growing your business, Jamie?
I think growing the business when I first started, we'd we'd be working all the hours under the sun.
Mm.
We had contracts that would be installing graphics at like Westfields or Shepherd's Bush or Selfridges in London. Now all that stuff has to be done out of hours, right? But then when you're working at companies that want their vehicles wrapped, that needs to be done in hours because they're not open out of hours. So we'd be working days. We'd be going up to London in the evenings and installing night graphics. And I've always had this work mentality. I don't know, just keep grinding, keep grinding. And it was a challenge for me. Looking back, it's poor management. So I've learned a ton myself, but in time when you're in the thick of it, it's a big challenge to understand like what's wrong with everyone. Why do people not want to work it? Like they're getting paid a fortune. They've earned like 3.5 days money in a day, But in reality, the slow transition into different strokes for different folks, right? And some people don't want that. Some people want to go to work from a certain time and go home at a certain time, live to work, work to live. That difference. And my mind shift shifted quite dramatically after seeing people come and go and burning people out and myself burning out and not knowing why and just thinking the work's there. Why are we not taking it? I've just found it hard. If someone's going to offer me a big gold carrot, well, what else am I going to do? Well, sit at home and sleep, which kind of sounds really nice now, and I love doing that. I don't care how big the gold carrot is. If I can sleep, I'll be doing that.
Yeah,
So yeah, managing the staff and managing their emotions, but actually I think understand that. I wasn't understanding it at the time.
yeah,
So I was actually managing it from a place of non-understanding, which is how can you? So just trying to keep them motivated was a big challenge. Um, and money doesn't motivate everyone. Some people don't want money. Some people's irrelevant for it. It's just I need this much to pay my bills. After that, I don't care. I'm fine.
yeah,
So yeah, I'd say the biggest challenge has always been staff for me, and ensuring that the highest quality, managing their emotions, making sure they're happy, dealing with
yeah,
their life, their outside life. I'm quite an empathetic person. I'm quite caring, maybe sometimes a bit too much because once you open that door too much to someone, you want to be there, but you don't want to be always there, and you're always getting that call and always I just won't go in because you're telling that you don't want to be that guy. So I think managing my emotions and managing staff's emotions and kind of making sure that there's a nice flow to it, if that makes any sense.
it does. Yeah, no, look, absolutely. And I think, like it's one of the key things of being a business owner. Most people go into businesses and they're great at what they do. Like, like great at vinyls and wrapping and all that sort of thing. But not necessarily good at the other things to run a business.
Mm,
Like you mentioned there, management and leadership, and it could be other things like marketing and sales and finance, because we don't generally get taught those things, and we get them we learn them on the way. So management, as you
mm,
say, if we're not taught how to manage, okay, few people may be natural managers, but not everyone is. You just learn it.
mm,
And I use a formula in my coaching, which is be times do equals have. And the thing is that it links into what you said there. Most people focus on the do. Okay, just do, 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 do. Get that job, do this, do that. And that, as you say, is when it leads to burnout.
mm,
Not everybody focuses on the be. Who do I need to be? Okay, so do I need to be a great manager? Do I need to be organized? Do I need to be a great employer? And how do I be that type of person rather than just focusing on the do,
mm.
and getting
Makes
the
complete.
right balance between the two? So yeah, it's interesting what you've shared there, and I think it's a fairly common thing. So how did you overcome that, Jamie?
Um, I think how did I overcome that? I guess nothing's clicking. Not one thing overcame that, and I wouldn't say no, I've overcome that. And I wouldn't. I think anyone who says they have and they know it now is is a closed book. I'm always open, right? I'm always learning, always. I've got better at me.
Yeah,
Um, a lot of self development, a lot of what I like, working on myself more, stopping myself burning out. You know, training, exercising, eating well.
yeah,
Not trying to, I'm not getting into work at 5 and leaving at 9. Like you're just burning yourself out. And then who can you be for everyone around you? You just, you, you've got no energy left, right, to give to anyone. So I think I went on a big, like, quite a self, well, still I am on, like, it's like a, just a bit of mindfulness, a bit of understanding myself. What do I like? What makes me tick? Working on myself, and then understanding myself a bit more helps me then understand other people a bit more, because things that I might not like, they might like. But then I don't know. I guess I wouldn't say one thing. I wouldn't say one thing changed and now I'm better. Just
like
yeah,
what you've said there, a combination of things, and some great shares in there, Jamie, in terms of looking after yourself. Not
mm,
not just the business wise, but your health and getting the right balance with your family and your sleep and all those sort of things. They, as you say, they're really really important things. But
mm,
you know, you've said there, self development, working on yourself. Well, that links into that formula that I shared. You've you started to focus on the B. Right, okay. Focus on yourself. Who do I need to be to make this business great? To help my employees. To
mm,
you've got to look after yourself first. As they say. Put your
mm.
own oxygen mask on first, then you can help other people. So, um,
I,
yeah,
I think
I
I
get
think
that a combination of things.
one thing that has just come to mind is I
Yeah,
started looking at everything, not being negative to myself, but I started taking responsibility for everything. So if things weren't going right, people weren't doing the right things, behaving in certain ways, rather than go, oh, he's doing this, he's fucking doing that, moaning and moaning,
yeah,
I would go, right, this is your shit. What can you do about this to prevent that, or to change that, or to make that better, or to stop him thinking that, or to stop him acting that way? I put everything on my shoulders. Now, not to weigh myself down and carry it all around on my shoulder, but just to go, what are you going to do about it? If you don't like this, you don't like that, you don't like the way that we're doing this, what are you going to do about it?
yeah.
Because that's how it changes. And it doesn't mean, I'm going to tell him to stop doing this, because nothing good is going to come of that.
No,
It's understanding and learning through management that they need to find all the answers. But how can I help them find the answers? There's no point me
okay.
telling them everything, you know.
Yeah.
So that's something that yeah, putting it onto my shoulders, making it my responsibility, and that's something that helps me massively, I think.
Yeah, look, I think that's great. And it reminds me of another sort of formula that I use in coaching, which is above and below the point of power. If you're above the point of power, you're taking ownership, accountability, and responsibility. Okay. If you're below the point of power, you're using blame, excuses, and denial. So you're blaming your team and saying it's their fault, etc. But what you've decided to be is above the point of power and take ownership, accountability, and responsibility. And then I like the other thing that you said there, Jamie, which was how can you help your team to come up with their solutions? So not giving them the solutions, but how can you help them to come up with it themselves so they
Hmm.
learn? Um, Brilliant stuff. Love it, Jamie. So look, if you could wave a magic wand and solve one challenge, one challenge at the moment, what would that be?
I like the fact I'm having to think.
That's okay. Take your time.
Um, I don't. I'm just enjoying the journey. I don't think I have one. I'm not in a rush. I don't. There is no magic. I don't want anything fixed instantly. I think things have to unfold for people to learn, for people to develop. But all in all, we're going on a really nice journey and a really nice pace, and it's everything's unfolding as it should. I mean, the business is pretty self-sufficient. I mean, if I had a magic wand, I'd probably have an amazing sales guy that didn't cost me a lot of money that would say, because at the moment I'm still hands-on with the sales side of things, but the rest of the business, accounts, designing, production, scheduling, running the fitters, having the installation work done, quality control, everything's pretty self sufficient. Everyone's doing an amazing job. Um, but the sales side of things, obviously, if there's no work coming in, then there's no work being done. Obviously, repeat work comes in and that gets processed. Doesn't really need selling,
Yeah.
but obviously focusing on new business, making sure the tractions and aiming 2 months ahead and looking over here. That's still something that's on my shoulders. So I don't mind it. I like it. But to wave a magic wand, I guess that would be my last kind of step away from working in the business, so I could fully work on the business. That would be my. But if I had the magic wand here, I wouldn't even wave it. I don't need it. I don't need the magic wand. I don't need it to be fixed instantly. I'm quite happy and content with how it's progressing, and I know where I need to be at to get
And
that person in that position.
how did you find that? If we go to what you sort of said before, because obviously when you start out on business, and as you explained when you were talking, Jamie, you were very hands on. You did everything. Yeah, you were a solopreneur. Then you hired one person. But from what you've just sort of discussed now, your team run everything. Um, you know, it's within reason, it's running itself. So how did you find stepping away from those things that you were used to doing in your own way and giving other people like the trust that actually they can do that, they can do the bookings, they can do the vinyl and the wrapping, and you trust them to do it? How did you
But
find
that's
doing
that's a really good question. There was a moment where one of my installers, it worked for me for about 3 years. He's probably most of my installers, they're not uni students. They don't need to be uni students. They just need to be, honest, hardworking, and a few other traits that I like. But I had an installer for me, and he was like he'd been for university, right? And very, very academic. He was not the fastest fitter, always on time, very calm, very relaxed, not much phased him. It's a slow fitter. So you've got me upstairs trying to price jobs, trying to book in jobs, and I'm a fast, good fitter. I'd like to say that sounded like an arrogant, but obviously it's experience, right? So I've got a lot more experience than him, and also from working out on site all the time, jobs have to get done. So okay, so this particular member of staff, I thought I'm up here, he's down there, and he's taking so long on that, and I don't want to go and rip the carpet from under him and make him feel bad. So how about I have a chat with him and see if he wants to start running the diaries, running the scheduling, start doing some basic pricing, and then I can just do what I'm good at.
it?
And that was a huge, huge step forwards.
Yeah. Okay.
So rather from just booking in the work and making sure that the job details are in the calendar, that's basically all the job role was at first. Now my operations manager and runs all the fitters and sort of liaises with the design team, the production team, and the booking team, and talks to the clients and books in the work. So that was a huge step for me because it made sense in my head to come away from the office stuff because it's almost putting him above me. Where am I next Tuesday? I don't know. I don't know where I am. I need to check my diary because I don't look after that anymore. He does. So it's quite refreshing and it's also quite empowering.
Yeah.
You know, I'm asking him where am I tomorrow. I don't know. Obviously, you've got the business owner asking you where they are, right? So I feel like that was quite a shift in time and in the business model. Um, the
I,
other
sorry, go on, Jamie. Sorry.
the other job roles, design. I can use design software.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say I'm a creative designer. I'd say if you told me what you wanted, I could make it appear on a screen and
yeah,
design it. I took on a creative designer. Now I'm big on let people do what they're good at. Now I'm not a creative designer. She is. So took her on, and that's an easy enough one to hand over because you're so much better at it than I am. Production. When I took on my production manager, I don't know how to work that machine. I know how to turn it on and maybe print a file, but I don't know if troubleshooting it. So that's an easy one to hand over because if it goes wrong, even today, I don't know how to fix it, and I don't want to know how to fix it. I don't need to know how to fix it. So that's kind of. But the first step was for me, really letting go was giving that person that power to just start scheduling in work because after 8, 9 years of scheduling in work for 6, 7 fitters every day and whilst I'm on the tools and taking the phone while I'm up trying to fit vinyl and then booking it all in the diary for the guys fitters and then you know that was quite refreshing for me not having to do that anymore. I could just focus on my fitting. Made me more efficient. I'm not taking the calls or booking in work. Made
yeah,
him better what he's at. He's also very relaxed. and calm. If you're a fitter and you ring me in the morning and kick off and moan because the van's outside, it's wet, it's not inside, the kit's going to be late, I ain't getting home till this o'clock, that's going to ruin my day. I'm going to get very angry and I'm going to be thinking in my head, I used, not anymore, but I used it's spiraling in my head, you know, all day long. They'd ring me at lunchtime, they're done and they're happy as Larry. I'm still stewing. So
Exactly.
this member of staff does it. He just brushes it off. He's like, "Oh, shut up, do your job. You'll be fine. You'll be ringing me by lunchtime, telling me you're done." Shrugs it off. So he's much better suited for that role and that position, and I don't have to deal with that anymore. And I'm now focusing on my fitting. So it's a real big shift, I think, and transition.
Yeah, no, I like that, and I think it echoes sort of something that that I think as well, which is do what you enjoy and what you're good at. Okay, so do what you enjoy and what you're good at, and then find other people that are better than you at the other things. So recruit, as you say, if they're better than you at design, right? Recruit people that are better than you at design. If it's not your thing or you don't enjoy it, So yeah, that's my philosophy. Do what you are good at and do what you enjoy, and find other people that are better than you to do the other thing. So Jamie, look, there's one question I like to ask everybody that's kind enough to join me on this discussion, and that's what is the best advice that you would give to an 18-year-old you? So if you could go back and speak to yourself when you were 18, what would you say to yourself?
I'd say if you don't enjoy it, don't do it, or don't. By all means, we have to do things we don't enjoy in life. That's part of life. That is life. But don't have a big goal and a picture of something you don't enjoy because it'll come at a sacrifice to your life, which in the sense that if you're doing something every day you don't love, I don't care if it earns you millions. If you don't love it, you're not going to be happy every day. You're going to be waking up, got to go and do that again. So I'd say do something you love, be honest, and be empathetic. Put yourself in other people's shoes and try and understand other people. Don't feel like you're always right. You're never right. Almost do the opposite. Imagine you're always wrong. Imagine you're always wrong. And when someone else does something, you feel like you're right. Just shrug it. Be relaxed. No need to always be right. That's one thing I wish I did a lot more. I always had a need to want to be right, and now I'd never have that. So like you're
I know,
constantly trying to
again,
prove something when I was young, but not anymore.
brilliant, brilliant advice. And it is that, that what you've just described there is that growth mindset, isn't it? And be open-minded, be, acceptable that there are, or accepting that there are other ways of doing things and that you're not always right. And so I like that. And yeah, do what you love. What is it, the saying that they say, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. So like it. Well, look, Jamie, I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today and sharing more about, your business and also your journey. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Simon. It's been great to speak.